How are you, strong fan? Good to see you, brother. And we're back. What's up, Jolie? Good to see you, Diego. B. Lindsay. Florentino. That's a great name. Kirsten is in the house. How are you, Kirsten? Nicole Vibes. That's a good name. It would be cool if we could just give AI the molecule, let it study the code. Well, that's what Kirsten did. She literally did that. I mean, didn't feed it the molecule, obviously, but feed it the conceptual frameworks of molecules. So I'm doing great, Kirsten. Thank you for asking. Sonia is in the house. Terry, Bra, Chef Jazz. Thank you guys for the likes. Kirsten told the molecule to actually, that would be cool if you told the molecule to smoke ChatGPT. That would be great. See what happens there. Andrew Carson was looking at the molecule tonight. Please tell me more. How are you, Christopher? Good to have you from Australia. Kirsten James is saying, what did the AI have to say? Well, it's a long story, but technically, it kind of talked about some of the stuff, which is kind of wild. Truly is. How are you, Lindsay? 3 emails and Zoom call, all with the same question. I know. I have to just sit down for about 4 or 5 hours and just answer all of them. Every single day, I just have more things that just stack up. At the moment, I had to focus on having these meetings, and there's just not enough hours in the day. Apologies, but I will definitely get around to the emails, I promise. Lindsay, are you a member in one of the either YouTube or TikTok? I will get to all the emails regardless, but for members, I have to give it to make sure that I always respond quicker, just to make sure that I give the benefit. Okay, so I will look for your email today, the second we're done with the conversation. Apologies for that. Okay, welcome to Simulation Talk 130. Wow, time flies. We just finished our first members live right before this, maybe 30 minutes ago. It was lovely. I'm not just advertising. It was great because I got to focus more on people's questions, and we took slightly deeper dives into topics of conversation, which is always nice. So I've recently introduced a members plan on YouTube. If you feel like joining it, I would deeply appreciate it because it helps me focus on this project full time, and it allows me to give you more attention in all kinds of ways. It includes personal Zoom calls with me. It includes weekly lives outside of the daily lives, like the one we had 30 minutes ago, as well as early access to videos that I'm releasing and personal videos from my life that will not be anywhere else on any platform. I was trying to figure out how to do it on TikTok as well. It's not that straightforward because I have some members on TikTok and I appreciate you, and I want to make sure that I also give you the value back because you believe in the project and you're investing. But it was not that straightforward. They don't make it easy. So for what it's worth, I tried, but maybe next time we can do it. They don't have that easy of a path to just do lives for members. So strange. First of all, let me take a snapshot of that, Lindsay. Okay, there you go. That way I'll remember to look for it right after. Welcome everybody across platforms on TikTok and YouTube and X and Twitch. Community is slowly growing. Very encouraging. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the loves. I appreciate everybody. Andrew is saying it's definitely beautiful. The code, you mean? I love Alan Watts. I love Alan Watts too. Andrew's seen the code. As far as I know, he hasn't checked. No, but we're gonna have a discussion on Tuesday. That's up in the works. I don't know if you guys saw Andrew's video of my reaction video to my. It was more like a critique video of my appearance on the Danny Jones podcast. Some of it is understandable, some of it I don't agree with, and I released a reaction video to it. It was all in very good spirit, very good faith, and Andrew was kind enough to actually repost or post my video from YouTube on his page, which is, I think it's a great sign. And he offered to have a conversation live on X on Tuesday at 5 p.m. on Pacific time. So you look it up for on X. I've reposted his post about it with the link. You guys should join. It's going to be a good conversation, I think. But as far as I know, he hasn't tried it. So Andrew Carson is saying it's definitely beautiful about the code. I'm sure that you're saying more things. I will read in a moment. Spigspan is saying, hey, I sent you an email about my meditation experience when my fingers went through the pen. Kind regards, Karen. Thank you. Thank you, Karen. Yeah, same answer. Emails really backlogged. I'm trying to get the hang of this new level of attention, and I'm doing my best to respond. And also I have like new daily things piling up, which again, I feel blessed to have that. But at the same time, I'm trying to reformulate my attention span and how I'm dealing with all of it. I'm pretty sure that very soon I'm going to have to train an AI model really well and how I'm answering certain questions. And for most of the frequently asked questions, you will probably be getting responses from my AI. I want to be very upfront and honest about it. I simply there's not enough hours in the day, but I will make sure that it's trained really well in exactly how I would be answering. And I will try and do my best to train it to recognize questions or flavors of questions that I've never seen before, in which I will, of course, address them personally. But it's just not enough hours in the day. If you want to interact with me more personally, I think it will be doing the daily lives. And I do appreciate all of you. And I do still feel that we're all on this journey together. And I will still be doing my best to, well, first of all the people that are going to be emailing me relevant things about experimentation and things like this, it will definitely be collecting that data. By the way, on the website, codeofreality.com, you have a new form that it's like a questionnaire that you can fill out after you order the laser or do the experiment by yourself, and you can share your experience with us. And soon we'll also add a section where you can upload a video or an audio if you choose to share, and that will be great. Let's see. How are you, Mr. Watson? Hey, Dan, love your work, following it closely. Thank you. And Strela, I appreciate you. Christopher George is saying you need to have a chat with Dave Rossi from Gen Z Podcast. Let's see, Dave Rossi. Looks cool. Yeah, I mean, whatever comes on the radar, if it all aligns, and then sure. It's very easy to see once you see it. Only need low levels for it to show up. Wait. Oh, low levels of the molecule. Yeah, absolutely. So this is really good. First of all, Andrew, would you mind filling out the questionnaire? It's completely anonymous, I think. But in either case, this information is it's not going anywhere. It's just for our own research. On the website, you have the questionnaire. I would love to see if it's working, because we put quite a bit of work into thinking about how it should be appropriate. Well, to be more accurate, Irv did. He's incredible. He both builds the lasers and he builds a lot of the stuff around it. Takes care of the website and all the stuff. As far as innovation, I can't be more grateful for him. It's amazing. So if you don't mind, Andrew, do you mind filling out that questionnaire? I would love to see also if it works. And two, the reason I'm asking, did you have any issues with seeing the code originally? Because we had some people recently that who were having some problems or some issue with seeing it. The code, watching the code. basically. Andrew is saying, if you move the laser, the code stays in the same physical place. It's trippy. It is very trippy. Or maybe the more accurate way of saying it is, what's so trippy about it is how not trippy it is. It's just like a regular thing. Yeah, Andrew, would you mind filling out that questionnaire and tell me how it went? Deep Dive Podcast did an episode of your work, brother. Deep Dive. Let's see. Deep Dive Podcast. Is that a thing on? Is that also on YouTube or only on other platforms? Let's see. Jessica St. Clair. Is that what it is? Is that the right thing? I don't see anything unless I'm getting the wrong thing. Yesterday we discovered, or somebody told me, to be more accurate, that somebody created a whole website around the number 081802. So crazy. I don't even know who that is. But it's like asking all these questions about that particular number. So yeah, Interstellar M31, which by the way, I love the handle. Do you mind pointing me in the right direction? Like, where can I find this podcast? Deep Dive Podcast. I can't really see anything. Is that with the St. Clair, Jessica St. Clair? Is that the right one? Is that what we're talking about? Yeah, wow, Andrews. So this proves it's not an illusion from the laser. Well, so this is one of Gallimore's points, which again, completely understand considering his level of education on the subject and true expertise. There's no question about that. Is that according to him, we are familiar pretty well with hallucinations that are of language and space permanence and take into account our physical environment. One of the examples he gives in this critique video is that Lilliputian, these hallucinations with little people, they always move, let's say, over a chair, never like floating in the air. I still maintain what I maintain, and I think if you will see it, it will be convinced. And again, it will be an honor and an absolute pleasure to have Andrew, being convinced and taking this on board. Because if there's anybody in this world that can take it to the next level as far as like thinking about how to approach it and all that stuff, it's him. So it'll be great to have him on board. We'll see what happens on Tuesday. And what do I want to say about that? Oh, so about the proof, the magnet that Casey yesterday was doing live. By the way, you guys should join more often because sometimes Casey joins and he does a live dive into looking at the code. And yesterday he was doing it live and doing the magnet, and he did it today also doing the members live on YouTube, and it was incredible. Basically, the hypothesis was that the magnet is scrambling the light in a way that makes the code less visible. And the way we went about it is that if we take put a paper in front of it, and if I project the light on the paper, if it scrambles it where the magnet is, that definitely proves that you're seeing real information. So that would prove it. We'll see. We'll test for all of this. And Strela is saying, the code always moving at the same speed, or does it vary? When does it higher? It's moving more, like there's more motion when you have a more molecule for sure. Now put a flying saucer. Thank you for that. Andrew is saying it's more of a morphing rather than a movement. Yeah, well, there's also movement of the code, like in a different way, but the tapestry is morphing for sure. It becomes more pronounced when dose is higher. It also appears bigger sometimes. Exactly. Experimenting with different surfaces. Amazing. If you have a magnet at home, can you also experiment with the magnet? I would love that. So like experiment, project it on the south and the north, see if it scrambles it, and then use a paper to see if you can recognize where the magnet is. Okay, cool. when I induce the molecule, I always see a pattern on the ground that's always moving at the same speed. That's why I thought I'd ask the question. There's other things, and this is what I think Andrew is alluding to, that there's all these like different kinds of hallucinations that can happen. It's kind of hard to discern if you've never tried it. I will fill out the questionnaire. Thank you so much, Andrew. I appreciate you. Matthew Jeffries, I saw the podcast where you mentioned the key to avoid karma cycle is to be still and present in the moment. Could you please expand on that? So yeah, so this is something that the Buddha basically discovered, that getting outside of the karmic cycle. The idea of that is that you want to detach from everything. And I don't know if are you talking about the podcast that I did today? The idea there is that because people talk a lot about it, but the truth is that if you really want to walk that path, you have to relinquish everything. You have to relinquish all attachments, all of them. Your family, your loved ones, your life, your well, sex. Again, it's so weird that I can't say that on TikTok. Food. I mean, like, extravagant food. You have to relinquish your need to have any of that. And if you can't do it in this lifetime, you will never be able to do it. That's basically the point. And the whole point of, the Buddhist practice is that you work your entire life to be able to relinquish any attachment to anything. So by the time you get to the end of this life, or the end of maybe some other life, you have the ability to simply detach from the karmic cycle. And then you just become part of nirvana, and there's no more reincarnation. That's essentially the gist of it. Where do you get the laser? You go to codeofreality.com. Strong fan. It's codeofreality.com, and everything is there. Again, super important to emphasize. I always do, because it's super important to know. Ben gifted. Oh wow, Ben gifted 5 memberships. Ben, thank you so much. I appreciate you. That's incredible. Wow, thank you. Some great. Yeah, I feel very honored that people believe in the project that much. Thank you so much. So if you go to codeofreality.com, there's a laser there that we make, and also there's a list of things that you can buy to make your own laser. I want to emphasize, and I always do, if your thing is that you need to save money, and it comes in as instead of something that you need, do not buy our laser. It is not cheap. We put a lot of work into making them fun, and also we make it very personalized. Now, again, when I say we, I really mean Irv. He's the one behind all of it. Everything you receive, the love you get, the packaging, the personal touch that you get when you're going to get your new lasers, you'll see. It's a lot of fun. But also a lot of effort goes into it, and we're not a factory that does this, so they're not cheap. So if you want to support the project and you want to get a fun surprise, please do that. But if it's going to cost you your weekly shopping or whatever it is, do not get our laser, please. I don't want for you to feel that you have to get that one. You can get it anywhere you want. Thank you, Don. That's why we provided a list of things you can buy, and you don't even have to get it through these links. You can just copy paste the specs and go source it anywhere you'd like. Alibaba probably will be the cheapest. It will just take longer, and you can buy it in bulk. I want to emphasize, you do not necessarily have to get our laser. If you want to support the project, you're doing it with the full confidence that it doesn't come at the expense of something that is very important to you, then receive gratitude, and thank you so much. We accept that. Thank you. Okay. It's one more thing rather than, okay, we got that. By the way, my name is based on what the molecule entities always call me. Sorry if it sounds odd. No, not at all. That's cool. Am I pronouncing it correctly, by the way? Is it Enstrilla? Enstrilla. It sounds like a Norwegian name. Maybe the code is an inner reflection of debug syslog, so to speak, of the optic nerve. No, I don't think it's in your perception. It behaves in every way like it's just in the physical surface. But good thought. Does it work with L or shrooms? It definitely works with shrooms. You need at least 3.5 grams. It works with Aya. I do not know if it works with L because I never tried. Maybe it does. I do not know. But mushrooms for sure. It will not be as coherent, probably, but you will see it. You just need a good amount of it. Not that I ever believed it was an illusion. This is the most groundbreaking piece of information I have ever come across. So happy to support you this journey. Thank you, Christopher. Well, by the way, I don't expect anybody to not to just believe me. That's not the point of this at all. Um, but I appreciate it, the vote of confidence, but I don't expect anybody to just believe me. This is why this is unique, because you can just go ahead and test it, no problem. Have you tried broadcasting the laser to cover a large portion of matter? Yeah. I mean, my first lasers were pretty wide. Talk about the magnet yesterday. We did it again today. Yeah, the magnet is wild. Thank you, Grayson. Appreciate you. Max is saying, "Hey Dan, have you heard of NB molecule, a modified version of the molecule which is legally available in Germany? So I wonder if the effect would be the same. Also, if the laser is 2 milliwatts, is it too weak? Might be, but as long as you can see it, it should be good. And the only thing I'm emphasizing is never above 5 milliwatts, just because that can actually do some cornea damage. I don't know if 2 milliwatts is going to be too dim, but you can try. I think as long as you see it, you're fine. Only on the molecule, the tall Egyptian pharaohs take you down that hallway until the effect wears off. Okay. I'm not sure to what effect you're saying this. And also, it sounds interesting. I've never heard of NB molecule. NB? Okay, I'll look into it after. It's interesting. I've never heard of it. Where can this video be seen? Which video? Sorry. Which video, Christopher? Again, Ben, thank you so much for gifting the 5 gift. Thank you so much. Bilbo Jenkins saying, hey, more members coming. Wow. Thank you, Ben. James just received a gift. What a beautiful gift. Thank you, Ben. Can you give a quick rundown of how to recreate the proper ladder arrangement again? Let me see if I understand what you're saying. Can you give a quick rundown of how to recreate the proper ladder arrangement again? Folding the ego. Wait, now, I'm not sure that I understand. Can you explain a little more? Can you give a quick rundown of how to create a proper arrangement of laser arrangements? Okay. So you're talking about how to position it in front of the wall, or you're talking about how to build one? Thank you. It makes sense, but it's so hard not to dive into both love or hate and pick a side. That's a hidden gem of advice. What are you talking about, Matthew? Sorry, I think I feel a little lost. I'm either missing something, or are you talking about something that I said? My boy, I'm unaware if you answered this already, but I am dying to know if you ever had any SEX encounters with the molecule entities. Please give all the details. No, I've never had that, but I've heard of this. And some people had a blast. Yeah, I've heard of this before. No, it never happened to me. I mean, sometimes it comes with some kind of a sex vibe, but I've never had like a full on. But again, I've heard of this, so I wish I could comment, but I just, yeah. Does it need to be a strong magnet, or does any magnet work? I think any well, I don't know, but I think this is just 10 pounds, maybe. So it's not that strong, but pretty strong. Have you tried different sizes? Wouldn't that be confirmation that the code is real? Oh, it will absolutely be a confirmation that the code is real because you can find an invisible object behind the surface. Thank you so much for the likes, guys. I appreciate you. Thank you, Grace on one. So yeah, this so it will definitely, yeah. I mean, think about it. Like if I'm hiding behind an invisible sheet, sorry, an opaque sheet, and you can't see me and you can't see the magnet, and if you're projecting the laser on the surface, and I'm putting the magnet somewhere, and you can't even see me, and then you can pinpoint where I put the magnet. Holy shit! That means you're looking at real information. You can discern where an object is. What do memberships do? Good question, Bilbo. So the memberships allow you, first of all, to have a personal Zoom calls with me and the members, as well as weekly lives outside of the daily life. It's just for members, so I can pay a lot more attention to what each person says, and also early access to a lot of videos that I'm releasing. Like right now, you already have the Chase Hughes reaction to the laser that has been on for the members since I think 2 or 3 days ago, and will only be released to the public on Saturday. And also private videos from my life. This allows me to focus on the project in full, and you get a little bit more of a sneak peek and also more personal interactions with me. And I'm constantly refining the system and looking for new ways to make it worthwhile for people. So that's the gist of it. Thank you for the question. I'm currently outfitting a guided VR headset with the diffracted laser to shine on the back wall. We'll try with and without the lenses, as well as knobs on the side to adjust laser. And oh man, that sounds amazing. Can you take a video of this, please? Even like we will never use footage of anybody who does not give us approval, but even just to have that as like an idea, if even if you don't want to share, your identity or anything like this, that would be amazing to have. So if you're willing to share that, I would deeply appreciate it. And then you can just email it to me to lasersimulationx@gmail.com. And if it's too large, the file, I can send you an invite to my Dropbox and you can just drop it there if you're willing to share, of course. Again, it's lasersimulationx@gmail.com. What you're saying sounds so dope. None of this is real. What's the best type of glass to use to shoot the laser through? You mean for the water? Anything that is transparent enough. Good morning, Buddha. Wait, I'm gonna try and read this. Buddha Bud Buddy 420. Buddha Bud Buddy. Look, I did it. That's crazy. I didn't think I would be able to. Australia. Australia. Nice. What is it then? Society of have you studied theosophy? Oh yeah. Okay, so we got into the theosophy part. So the thing that I wanted to bring up in this context. Hold on. This was like I said yesterday. This is a bit of a deep subject, and the reason that it is because, in general, these belief systems that I guess you can call some of them, you can call them a cult. Some of them you can call them the more spiritual traditions. The ones that rely more on the special boys club kind of thing, all of them, they have the same thing in common, which is they postulate a certain belonging to, again, a special club, right? And if it's not based on a more basic ability that anybody can evolve, in general, I would say that cannot possibly be the kind of like the ultimate channel. It will always have some kind of a loop or some kind of a trick inside of it. That's the general specifics of, how I would start talking about it. But I'm pretty sure that if you ask that question, you have something specific in mind. So if you want to ask me that, then we can talk about that more in with specificity. Specific Helena Blavatsky. I know the name. I don't know Rudolf Steiner. Maybe it sounds a bell, but Helena Blavatsky, I definitely heard the name. The first thing that comes, and I truly don't know much about the details, But the first thing I get is cult leader. But I'm sure you'll tell me what your position there is and what you're asking. Hi, Danny. Hope you're well. Do you know if the experiment still works while also under the influence of alcohol? I feel like these two shouldn't mix. I'm inquiring for other people. Uh, asking for a friend. So, what's up, Porky? 1964. So the thing is, you shouldn't mix the molecule with alcohol. That's true. But in the end of the day, the molecule sometimes is also playful. Like it's okay sometimes to play with it this way, but you have to ask for permission, so to speak. Like you have to verify that that's okay. In general, I would say it's a negative association because alcohol kind of it makes you less conscious. And what the molecule wants is your sharpness and presence. If you're looking at to use it in order to reduce some of the anxiety, I would actually recommend a lot more to just do a bump of K. Not a lot, but like a little bit because it removes the edge. With alcohol, you get into the whole situation where you get very, very, not fully present, and that's not necessarily a good thing. Have you seen the code that Alison Gray paints, Alex Gray's wife? Are they the same symbols that you see? No, they do not look like that at all. Christopher George, I don't know if I have no clue. Okay. What are your thoughts on learning new language to understand the code better? Like without the molecule, learning Python or Japanese or Egyptian hieroglyphs, kind of like they did in Arrival. Yeah, I mean, in the end of the day, I think that there will come a day in which we're going to start trying to like figure it out and decipher what that means and all that stuff. And it does remind me a lot of the movie Arrival in that sense. But I'm not sure what you mean because you said without the molecule. At the moment, you can't really see anything without the molecule, so I'm not sure how you mean that. Um, Deep Dive by Jason Lord. Heard it on Spotify. Checked Apple Podcasts. It was not on the platform. Recently, new pod episode came out last Tuesday, 20 minutes long. Deep Dive, Jason Lord. Deep Dive podcast, Jason Lord. Oh, Lord. Jason Lord. Ooh, I love the pictures. Episode. Wow, that's very confusing the way they arrange the episodes. Faith, microcosms. Would you be able to find the link to it and email it to me? I can't see it. I would have really appreciate it. Lasersimulationx@gmail.com. It's also listed on the website. Project onto opaque screen that can record the code. Again, how would you record the code, Don? You can only see it when you're in an altered state. So, Sarah Imari Walker. No. Sarah Imari Walker. What about her? If you guys don't mind, well, actually that's true. If I would hear about her, then that question would suffice. But I'm telling you, I didn't hear about her. So if you want to tell me a little bit more. So yeah, Interstellar. If you can drop it in my email, I would appreciate it. If it works with mushrooms, that too, that in itself is a big proof that something is to it. Well, again, I'm saying that even just by seeing it, it's real, right? I think more when you talk about it to people who never done it, then maybe you need some ways to convey or justify. But when you see it, you don't need any of that. You just know right away. It's so clear. When on Saturday, when the video Chase Hughes's reaction video is going to come out, you're going to see on his reaction, like the way he reacts to it. It's really telling of how it appears for people. Arrival being the movie where language was a tool that granted understanding, and a language that was not time linear. So the language itself lended itself to basically being communicated through time as you speak it, so to speak, which was such a cool idea. And actually, I think Stephen Wolfram was involved with helping with that film. I met Jeremy a few times, Jeremy Renner. I had the honor of telling him that it's By far one of my favorite films of his. What exactly do you see when you're high and staring into lasers? I mean, gotta catch up. The general gist is that you see code, but you can watch my videos on this topic. Just watch the trailer, and there's enough information there. My name is Vanessa. The information you're sharing is so fascinating. I don't think I'll ever try the molecule, etc. But I am patiently waiting for your documentary explaining the discovery in detail. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Neo Man is in the house saying experience with entities. I have an octopus. The next morning I woke to millions of baby squid saying thank you. It was very clear. That's amazing. Late night talk, owl of Ouroboros. Great handle. Did you get the idea from the beings, or did you receive the laser idea from like a mind download? Do the beings only use telepathy they've encountered to speak? So this is something that some fellow psychonauts would disagree with me on, including I think Kirsten, and she's definitely as experienced, if not more experienced than myself in these things. But I do not believe they can give you information. That's my conviction. They can't do that. I think that what happens is that they can give you inspiration and you can arrive at the right conclusions. That's the way it goes. Am I right? Time will tell. I think that there's some kind of a rule that prevents them from doing that. And I think one of the reasons is that you need to evolve and to figure it out yourself, basically. So the process of figuring out the laser took years, even though it's such a simple idea. But when you don't know, you don't know. It takes time to figure out something. Wait, what is that? I think Kirsten is coming. Oh, Kirsten is asking to come on.
Yeah, so I mean, I believe you're right.
To everybody on YouTube, this is Kirsten. So,
hi guys. They give you hints, and they're not always verbal. And in the beginning, I got a lot more access to the hints, but like lately, it seems like they come few and far between.
Yeah. So again, I might be wrong. Something tells me that if I really look closely at it, the idea is never like nobody ever came to me and is like, "Hey, laser." Like that never happens.
That never happens.
Right? Mm-hmm. It's like they can kind of do things that you go, "Wait, what does that mean?" And then they kind of play hot cold with your attention. It's like, and then when you're on the right track, they're like, yeah, that whatever that is, just look there. That definitely happens.
Yeah, they get excited, like almost like this excited feeling, like when you're figuring it out, and they keep pushing you into that area.
Yeah, and this is I noticed, by the way, on very strong mushrooms. It comes across in the form of rising and lowering frequency. If you pay close attention, the hum. If you're thinking about a specific proposition, I'm obviously not telling you, Kirsten. I'm telling people. It kind of goes up and down when you're on the right track. Like it can literally go like they're like yeah, no, like that kind of thing. Like you would literally audibly hear it.
I wanted to ask you. You spoke with Paul. Is he going to do the experiment with you?
He did. He had a hard time.
Okay. Because I'm having him on the podcast, and he hasn't seen the laser yet. So, I've facilitated for him before, but I invited him over. I'm like, hey, I have the laser here. So I'd love for you to see it, because he runs that AI program.
Yeah.
Where he's created basically where he can tell if things are accurate or not. He's like it's built on him and his dad's studies, because his dad was J. Allen Hynek, the father of ufology, did a lot of great work and stuff. So Paul's a solid dude, and so I trust the technology. Yeah, I'm really excited to see it. And I said, okay, test me out, whatever with my psychic stuff. I'm like, let's do it. And he was like, yeah, I also want to see the laser. I'm like, okay, well, cool, let's get together and do it.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so that was yeah. So Kirsten's talking about Paul Hynek. He's an author. He's also a producer, right?
Yes, yes, he does many things.
He's a lovely, lovely guy. Truly, like he was such a lovely person, or he still is. But when I met him,
big advocate of the spirit molecule.
Yeah, well, big advocate. We tried it. He had a hard time, but he was very open to it. He was like, "Just come over again. We'll do dinner. But yeah, I just like I told him like I have no idea why some people have a heart. I have no clue. He was very open to it. So yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
Amazing.
I think sometimes it's just remember with me, like I had to use the K to be able to finally back off because I was overthinking it. So that's kind of my thought. Like Paul is like that too. So, maybe that might help just
I
back it
can't
off
wait
a
to
little
crack
bit.
that part.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
By the way, quick answer: does the laser have to be a cross or a shape on the wall? No, as long as it's diffracted, it doesn't really matter what shape it is. Is being psychic a proof of a simulation? I think that question is for you, Kirsten.
Wait, what was that?
Is being psychic proof of a simulation?
No, not at all.
I've always wondered that, Patrick. Wait. Oh. Well, no, proof definitely not. Because you can explain that in terms of a lot of other ways. Hey, interesting note. I've been seeing this code for several years while waking up, looking at the morning sun, light coming through the window blinds. I see strange characters in between the blinds. Yep.
I also see it in the sun randomly without
Are
the
they the
molecule.
same? Are they the
Certain
same?
days. Yes. The
They
ones
are.
in the
Okay, there
sun.
you go.
The ones that come off the sun sometimes. I've tried to photograph them, but it's like doesn't come off great. And it's only certain days, like when the sun is really strong. I can see them. Yeah, they're the same codes.
Society of High Sciences is laughing at the bump of K, but it works like because there's a lot of anxiety around the molecule. One bump, you're good. Like it's like it sets you in a good place.
Yeah, and also I'm a facilitator, so like I overthink everything because I work with this molecule so often. So I was trying to like read too much into it. It was like my brain was on overload, like trying to figure it out. And all I had to do was relax. So that was like the perfect thing to just get me to go, oh, and then boom, it popped.
Wow. Interstellar M31 is asking, what books do you recommend regarding the discovery simulation theory? There are no books. Literally, there's I'm it. Until I write a book, there's not going to be a book. But the simulation theory, I can't recommend a book because I was never interested in that. Surprisingly, I never found the idea attractive, alluring, or interesting whatsoever. I thought it was kind of dumb, to be honest. Not dumb because it's impossible. It's absolutely the most likely case. It's just that I was like, okay, but then what? Which is what a lot of people's reaction is, and I get it. Because of it, I get it. But who cares? It's like if it's outside of this world, who cares? But but it's because I never ever considered that we're gonna have some kind of a direct access to it. Now it's different. What is your theory? I thought you were repeating others. So I'm not proposing a theory. I mean, I have a theory around it, but I'm proposing an experimental way of verifying something, which is that if you project a diffracted laser on the surface and you ingest the spirit molecule, you will see code running in the surface where you're projecting the light. That is what I'm proposing. Reddit app, great debates. Yeah, that's where I started. The reason that Aaron, the director, reached out to me is because he saw my interactions on Reddit, talking to people, and he kind of enjoyed the respectful way with which I was talking to people. And then he started looking deeper into it, and he got really interested in trying to do something with the content. Similar structure of effect. And okay, so these are all comments to one another. I love this comment. Society of High Science is saying, you ever notice when you do enough shrooms, time stops making sense? Yeah, I'll send pics and also record a video showing how it functions when the molecule VR is done. That's amazing. I'm working with a VR expert because it would be fun to see if we can also build like a thing for it. Now I'm wondering how to involve magnet to the mix. Possibly a slider on the front attached to the magnet that lets you move it around and rotate it. Yeah, that would be cool. You got it, April. What stage of is it? To all the questions about what quantity to use, what lasers to use, all of the stuff, go to the website that you see on the screen, codeofreality.com. Codeofreality.com. Have you tried to use multiple lasers? Yes. You do have a theology. You talking to me? I wouldn't say I have a theology. I have an experience that I'm reporting. I would say theology is a belief system. I don't have that. I have what I see and what I report. I don't rely on things that I believe, or if I do, it's because of other things that make sense in that context, and then I would identify them as my strong convictions, let's say. So I'm trying to go through the comments quicker now. Sun is basically a big diffracted laser. No, it is not. Laser is a very particular kind of light. Sun is not coherent light. Simulacra and Simulation is a great book. So one book I would recommend, and I always recommend, is The Beginning of Infinity. That book will give you an incredible outlook on the future and what is possible for us as humanity, and how to align our expectations in relationship to what knowledge really is and what we are in this world. I cannot recommend this book enough. Thank you so much, Don. I appreciate it. Yeah, The Beginning of Infinity by David Deutsch. Submitting the form on your site. Amazing. Thank you, Andrew. I find your response perplexing. Discussing religion and spirituality without a deep understanding of theosophy is akin to discussing simulation theory and lasers without a solid foundation in physics. I understand what you're saying, but in the case of religion, I would say that you don't necessarily need theosophy. What you need is an direct experience of it, if you really want to know what you're talking about, combined with some general understanding of what people believe. I don't think that what anybody believes on Earth today is correct, just to be clear. I think that these are all very rudimentary attempts at making sense of something that is so beyond comprehension that the human mind simply can't handle it. I'm trying to focus on what the thing really is. Some would say it's a fool's errand and nobody can ever do it. I'm going to try. Do you want to say something, Kirsten?
Yeah. Also, from what I gather and from what like Sevens told me, religion has nothing to do with it at all. And that there are certain pieces of religion, right, that are fundamental to it, but that religion in general is like on the higher realms, not at all applicable to any of this.
There you go.
I'm sorry, when I'm speaking about my daughter, you guys probably, I should introduce a little bit about her.
Oh, yeah, please.
She's 8 years old, and she has past memories of past life being on another planet, specifically being a blue avian. And she channels, she does a lot of interesting things, and she's able to see the code without obviously any molecule on board.
So she's the third person that I know. Well, now at this point, the fifth person, because we had a couple of people on the live that said that they could see it. Thank you. Yeah. So Kirsten's daughter is a very special girl, and she's one of these, the kids of the future type of kids that we need more of. Also, I'm not sure how to read your name. Is it Feda, aka Rodney Least? I think so. It's almost like the way I read your question. It's almost like, what do you, how do you feel about philosophy? Would not be right, but so basically, you like, if you would take, yeah, I don't have a good example, but you're asking about something so broad, right? And there's infinite threads to pull, and they all have different relevance to different subjects. So I guess this is why I was asking you, what is the reason you're asking, so we can talk about that directly versus just a general statement or a blanket. It's almost like asking me, what do you feel about physics? It's like, I like it. But why are you asking specifically? You think the console is like a computer where you can input or get info? I truly don't know. I'm working on a video right now that is going to be the second console video, and I'm making a really heroic attempt to talk about it in any coherence. But if I have to be honest, I'm not sure. I don't know what it really is.
So something interesting about the console, I was speaking with Seven, and she's explained that she has an ability to, when the time is right, create something around herself that is almost like a vehicle of transport. And she was kind of, it was very interesting what she was saying, because I kind of get the feeling that that's almost what they're trying to create with some of us with the console, is like, because it has those, it has the menus and things like that. And we're trying to figure out how to use them, but it's actually integrated within us, right? Like you have to become it versus trying to use it.
That makes sense to me. I think kind of like merging with its function, maybe. I tend to think about everything in slightly less esoteric terms, but I do understand that maybe the function that is required to actually think more along these terms. And maybe that's also why I'm having such a hard time with it. I'm not sure. And to your question, Pete, the topic is I'm claiming that I found proof that we live in a simulation by projected refracted laser on the surface and ingesting the spirit molecule. The specifics of everything we're saying here you can watch on my videos, both on TikTok and on YouTube in longer formats. The YouTube channel is Dango Thoughts, DANGO Thoughts. I hope this helps to kind of kick off the general understanding. Okay, I'm going to try and go through some of these in lightning round, and then I'm going to have to adjourn very soon. Does it work outside? Yes, it works on all surfaces. Thank you, Interstellar M31, for the email. I appreciate you. What are your theories on the beings being your own consciousness? This is something that I think Kirsten would align with. I would align with it a little bit less. Not in the sense that we're not, just that, and Kirsten's probably rolling her eyes because she heard me say this a billion times. But I do think that ultimately what people refer to when they're saying the one is not what they think it is. I think that the ultimate one is so beyond comprehension, and so the distance of it is so enormous that when people do this, it's all us, it's all one. It's a local one. That's my conviction. It's our local one, but there's others. There's many, many, many others. And then people say, yeah, but at the top we're one. I'm like, yeah, but that's not what you're talking about, because you can't feel that thing, or you can't feel it with the same ease that you're professing at the moment. Again, that's my conviction. I'm not necessarily saying.
I would also agree with you now. Okay. Yeah, I didn't before, and you know that, but I would also agree with you that it's so far beyond comprehension that almost like the human mind, it would like explode. It's too much for this human vessel to understand.
Oh, amazing. Well, great surprise. I guess the easiest way to say it is that, again, my conviction is that, so I'm not saying you need to accept it, but my conviction is that the true one, the one that is like the top of all tops, like, just the ultimate thing, okay, the Omega, it is as far to the one we refer to as the one as it is to us. That's how far it is. That it's so beyond, it's and I think it can be exemplified relatively accurately if somebody's doing the 5-MeO. I think that the 5, am I supposed to say? I'm just going to say the 5. If you do the 5, let's see if it actually, I wasn't sure if that's the thing that flagged us last time. Now we're going to find out because I didn't say anything else. If that sequence of letters and numbers flags this chat, TikTok, get your shit together. But we're going to call it the 5 for now. So if you do the 5, I don't think it's still there, like it's not quite there, but it would give you some understanding of what it means to just not be able to comprehend anything, like in terms of just like grabbing it with your mind. And then you start playing with the real space of what that thing might be. That's what I think. What do you want to say?
Something interesting. 7 channeled the source, and it wasn't the source of all, it was the source of this simulation, which surprised me. I was like, wait, what? And and she was saying like there's many ones, like there's and so basically it's a being that's overseeing this particular simulation, and it's at the top. Then there's other ones, and there's like an architecture going up.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what my kind of. Obviously, I'm not on the level of 7, and I probably don't see it in the same. She probably just sees it, but for me, it just kind of like logically makes sense, and maybe that's how my being interprets things. But yeah, it's exactly what what I'm seeing. So it's amazing to see that she sees the same thing.
Yeah, I mean that surprised me because I thought there was only one, basically, and then for her to say no, there's one over this simulation.
And by the way, it may be that the only thing that will ever be relevant to us is that one. So it might not be even what's the point of thinking of that, but I can't help it. That's what my brain is doing. It's trying to go to the top shelf of whatever that is and try and somehow interact with it conceptually. Even if my brain understands it's impossible. I'm not sure how to explain that. It never disappears. Picture a desk in front of your eyes. It disappears in your reality. It's gone. In dimension space, it's still there. Wait. I'm going to read. Ooh, comment from X. Always exciting. How are you trying not to become a it's so hard to read. Trying not to become an ideologue. You think the console is like, oh, Jesus. I didn't realize that this comment was from X before. Thank you for the email, Interstellar. Feels like Groundhog Day right now, but it's okay. Does it work outside? Yes. What are your theories in being consciousness? That's where we stopped. Great. Picture a desk in front of your eyes. It disappears. I don't understand this comment. Labeling theosophy as a cult strongly suggests that you might not fully understand what theosophy is. It's not theology. No, I know that. And yes, I'm not like deeply versed. That's why I'm asking you. What is the reason that you're asking for what is the reason you're asking the question? What do we all do if we find out this is a simulation? Okay, hold on. There was also.
And just an interesting little input. I've had full-on atheists start working with me with the spirit molecule that have, well, not many, just one actually, but full-on changed. Like they totally get it now, and they're like, yeah, there is a source. So that was pretty magical.
Yeah, isn't it amazing, that transformation? I'm trying to see why I got the cult leader from Blavatsky, because I didn't say that theosophy is a cult. I said from what my immediate thing brings up in the memory that Petrov Blavatsky means cult leader. So I'm not looking why I got this idea. Let me look at her picture. That will help me, because it's like a very strong thing, but I might be mixing her with somebody else. Oh yeah, 100%, bro. Yeah, I was not wrong about that memory. So I'm not sure what you think you're getting from it, but even from like everybody can Google her face right now. Okay, just Google her face. If you have any amount of intuition, you tell me what you see. That's all I can say. Space and time are foundation for all matter. Okay. Thank you, Sofa King. These are uncharted waters, Rodney. Unprecedented stuff. I look at Dan as an explorer and an adventurer. We are here to gather data on the subject right now. Later, we can apply scientific method. Solar. What is that? Weird. Solid objects are matter throughout different dimensions. Okay. What do we all do if we find out this is a simulation? Do we just carry on living in it or try to break it, get out? Good question. And it offers me the opportunity for clarification that I sometimes give, which is that, first of all, simulation does not mean fake. It does not mean you're a puppet, and it's open-ended. The only thing that is simulated is the environment. What happens in the environment is completely up for grabs, and it's open-ended. So nothing knows what will unfold next. Simulation is not set. Go ahead, Kirsten.
I also think it's a beautiful way to look at, are you the player or the playee? Mm-hmm. And are you creating the reality that you want to create for yourself?
Exactly. And what it just opens the window to, and by the way, this is the real clarification. The proposition isn't that you're stuck in a computer software and there's a real world outside. The proposition is that everything is computational. That's the real world. That also, among other things, runs our what we call physical world as a little tiny slice of that larger reality, which is computational. And in our slice, we're now discovering the computational is a real thing, and it's the more real space. So if anything, you're not escaping the simulation. You're realizing that you're part of a larger simulation and of a larger rule set that you can slowly start to understand and utilize for greater things. One example of that is computation itself, the way we use it. So computation is not something that we made, we discovered it. And what computers are the most basic first instantiation of computation for what it really is in physical matter. And this is why kind of feel like this is like a book writing itself, because I'm repeating the same sentence over and over again in the exact same way. But this is why you can do so many more sophisticated things by utilizing computation when instantiated in physical matter than you ever could if you would just try and manipulate physical matter like cogs and and things like this. You could never do the things that we can do with computers, and that's not because it's too much power or any of that. It's just a higher dimensional function that we discovered a link to and how to make it operate. That's the proposition. So in that sense, it's bigger, it's freer, it's better. It's not less than. It doesn't imply that we're in prison like is portrayed in the movie. I hope this helps.
Yeah, it's definitely not about removing yourself from it. There is no way to remove yourself from it. It's a way of like integrating yourself to understand the higher dimensional input coming in and to integrate yourself to those higher realms and the higher ways of thinking, less judgment, less being more open to things. Mm-hmm. That's what it's about.
Yeah. And to your trying not to become an ideologue is commenting, besides Magnus field, you think sound can affect the code? So far, we tried. Sound doesn't seem to be doing anything. But if you really, now I know that a lot of people love the idea of sound like being magical and doing all kinds of things. And it might be, well, it's just the frequency itself. Sound is a very basic thing that depends on air pressure. So it's very local. It would not be a universal element by no stretch of the imagination. What I mean by universal, it will not be traversable between dimensions and things like this, because sound is an effect of moving air pressure, and air is on Earth or planets like Earth, not throughout the universe. You want to be looking for things that have the potential of being signals that can move between worlds. Light is a candidate. Magnetism is a candidate because that's one element of the electromagnetic field, which is light, right? I don't think sound will make a difference. I tried. It might. Again, I'm open to being wrong, always. Maybe sound has something to do with the way it moves consciousness, which is a universal thing. So in that sense, indirectly, it might influence a universal thing, which is consciousness. But sound itself is a very basic function, and it's very limited. It's very local. Does it work outside if laser is pointed on a tree trunk? Yes. Wait, didn't you ask this already? Time travel is real. Good talk. Have you seen a language linear B? No. I think somebody asked me this before. Let's see. Oh, I think it's that one where Kirsten said yes and I said no. I'm not sure. Is that the one that you said yes to? Linear B? She's probably looking it up. Have you tried the laser?
Wait, say that again. I didn't hear that.
Linear B. I feel like somebody asked this before, and I think you were also on the live, and I think you said it kind of looks like that, and I said I don't think it looks like that. But was that one?
Oh, Enochian magic.
Is that what it's called? Linear B, Enochian magic? Is that what?
No, I don't know what linear B is, but Enochian magic, I was like, like
can you look up?
See some.
Can you look up linear B real quick and tell me? Lights on. Phobias are changing the way we perceive the universe. Okay.
Okay, so very interesting. There are a few characters that do appear similar. Very few, though.
All right. Cool. Yeah.
Just look it up and look at the image.
I did. Yeah.
Do you see it? Do you see there's like two of them that look similar?
They just look like Cyrillics more than anything.
And the one that I was looking.
They don't like. I think what I'm looking at when I'm looking at a language is I'm looking at the essence of it, like not specifically how each character appears, but like how they feel, and it doesn't feel like that at all to me. Maybe that's what it is. Also, of our Ouroboros. Just so you know that the Gateway Foundation. These are all tapes that were always available from the Monroe Institute. So the whole declassification of the documents was never about the technique. It's important to know that. It was just about the fact that the CIA was entertaining it. But it's not the CIA's program, it's the Monroe's Institute program. The code looks like linear B, ancient language. Not according to me, but Kirsten is saying some of it does. You're making this too broad, Dan.
For clarification, sorry. I see only two characters that I've seen in the code before, but like it's so overwhelming, that it's almost impossible to, like, I've written a few of them, and so is Kelsey, and I've looked at those, and there's I can see two that are similar, but like what you said, the overall feeling, no, it doesn't feel like that.
Yeah, that was it. Feda is saying you're making this too broad, Dan. I didn't ask for your opinion. That's what I was asking you, though. I'm asking you, why are you asking this? I specifically asked if you've studied it. Oh, no. More precisely, whether you're familiar with the work of particular. No, I don't know about the details of the work. No. And also, but you made a statement after that you think it's incomplete to talk about any religious element without talking about theosophy. I just disagree with you on that. But again, if we want to talk about something, so it doesn't, to me, it doesn't make any sense to talk about something as if the particular container you're entertaining is the important thing, right? So if for example I say to you, let's think of something specific. If I say to you, have you studied Carl Jung's element of the shadow? Like, have you studied Carl Jung's work on the shadow? Okay. And from the way you come across to me, it sounds like you definitely would have, right? You probably know a lot about it. But let's say that you wouldn't know about it. The relevance of my question to you should never be around the container. So, like, never about the specific way in which Carl Jung specifically talked about the shadow. The conversation, to me, should always be about the thing you want to bring, like the point you want to make about it, or like what is the substance there, right? So Carl Jung did incredible work by creating frames and very useful analytical landscapes of this very complex idea, and he explored it through experience and analysis, and to some degree, I would say even yeah, from a scientific perspective, if you can call it that, in that domain. The point is that I would never be resting on specifically what he said, or I would then summarize what he said for you if you never heard of it, so we can then have a discussion about the idea. That's what I'm interested in. To say, did you study this big field, and you have you heard of the work of this and this and this? It's completely irrelevant to the point that should be the substance, which is, what is the thing you're trying to say? What is the point you're trying to make? What is it about? I don't care who studied what. If somebody doesn't know that, it's my job, if I know a lot about it, to basically bring them up to speed so we can have a conversation about the substance. That's where I'm coming from always in all my conversations. I hope this makes it clear. This has been answered a million times, so forgive me. But how close to finishing the documentary? Yeah, about 7 months to a year. I will keep saying it until it's like a month before. Individuals, my question was very specific. That brought it all. It's clear that you're not familiar with it, and that's truly unfortunate. This is where we disagree. It has nothing unfortunate about it. There's so many domains of human knowledge that not everybody can explore all of them. If you truly understand the subject matter that you're bringing forth, you should be able to summarize it to some degree in a couple of sentences so we can talk about what actually matters. And that is not a matter of opinion, that is a fact about human understanding and knowledge. And I would submit it very strongly. Ever see the photos of time travelers? It goes back to the early 1920s. Okay. What is your point of view on the allegory of the cave by Plato? Sounds like a documentary. So many unexplainable, very real, very different experiences, but they all have substances in common. L mostly, which makes my interactions null and void to the average person. So it sounds fake. Yeah, I can kind of relate to that. Okay, so I don't have a choice. I have to kind of skip a few. And yeah, so just so you know, even in Greek, they had, if I'm not mistaken, Cyrillics, they all had a similar root. But I'm not a language expert, so I have to probably check this. Okay, so I think Predators, Gauntlet, Script. Yeah, kind of looks like that for sure. Okay. Judging someone by their appearance isn't a fair way to dismiss their work. Calling her a cult leader based on looks. You're right. You're right about that. So, Fede is saying judging someone by their appearance isn't a fair way to dismiss their work. Calling her a cult leader based on her looks shuts down meaningful conversation. First of all, you're right. It is not necessarily the most fair move to make about a person that is, first of all, not alive anymore, and second of all, somebody, like, we're talking in the presence of a lot of people, and especially because I really don't know a lot about her. If I have to be honest, there is something about appearance that sometimes can communicate certain things, and that's what I was alluding to, because I think that the deeper point there is that I have strong reasons to believe, and I don't necessarily want to get into specifics right now, that she was not a positive person. But you're right, it is not a fair thing to do. And also, this is true, I don't know enough about her specifically. And maybe this will be also another thing that might be fun to kind of dive into. My conversations are always around what can we actually learn and take as a universal principle from something, right? From an understanding, from an experience, from something that somebody discovered, but that's the value for me. Some people care about, different things. So some people care about the people themselves as to like, I'm not saying you're doing it, but some people like really care about the character of a particular leader, and there's something that exemplifies something there for them that is universal and important. I get it. That's just not where my mind sits. But yeah, I'll accept the correction. That is not a fair thing to say. So yeah, I'll take it back. Harsh is saying, forward your channel to 2 people and they are a fan now. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, well, the allegory of the cave is essentially the Matrix. So the idea of the allegory of the cave is that there's these people that are chained inside of a cave, and all they can see the world as is through the shadows that are reflected from the outside to the wall in front of them. And one guy one day ventures outside and sees the world with its full color and glory, and then he comes back and tells people in the cave, and nobody believes him because all they know is the shadows. And that's essentially the Matrix, or the idea of the Matrix prison, basically. I do have a slight modification to this story. Oh, Andrew, yeah, one moment I will talk about that, because I think that ultimately, because the Mayans and the Buddha and a lot of people talked about how this, well, the Buddha not exactly, because he wasn't putting really like any theoretical propositions, but the idea that this is Maya, this is an illusion. I think it's kind of it's a little misleading, because the maybe the form, but the experience inside the form is not an illusion. It is the only true thing that can possibly exist. In fact, it is the only thing you absolutely know with absolute certainty that exists, even more than you know the existence of the universe or any conceptual things that you will never see probably with your naked eye. So in that sense, I think focusing on the beauty of the present moment and appreciating everything we have is the way to break from the matrix, from the form, from the importance of the form, and enjoy whatever you can enjoy and not make it into too big of a deal if you have it or you don't have it. I think that's the superpower you want to hone to truly release yourself from the shackles of the matrix. Andrew's question is very important. You said, Dan, can you please speak in detail about why the laser is needed to see the code? What is it doing to be able to show the code? I'm no science guy. Well, the truth is that nobody knows. I think that it's because of the resolution that the laser allows for, combined with what the molecule is doing, which my current working assumption is that it allows your brain to make more computational steps per density of information. So it literally gives you more frames per second of reality itself, which is what allows you to see the behind the scenes, so to speak. Nico's in the house. How you doing, brother?
Hey, Danny, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, amazing. Good to hear from you, brother.
Awesome. Yeah, good to hear from you. I only have a few minutes because I was about to go to bed, but I wanted to just kind of throw an idea out there. So I listened to Andrew Gallimore's kind of critique of the Danny Jones podcast, and I actually felt like he gave you a lot of credit, actually, he unpacked a lot of kind of potential papers that can come out of this experiment. But one thing that he unpacked, which I really liked, was you mentioned that this experiment is like a microscope, right? It gives you this very high focused view of this space. And he kind of unpacked that and said something similar to the high definition aspect. He said it's just such a strong, vivid stimulus, and you're confining your field of view, right? And it almost, what he said, it sounded like he was trying to say it almost quantizes DMT space in a sense. And I thought that was a really cool concept that has been at the tip of my tongue for a while in hearing these discussions. But I was kind of curious if you thought of like, is it like a DMT bit? Is it like, or it's some type of fundamental unit in this space, right? And I'm trying to kind of not necessarily throw terminology on it, but kind of construct something around that. And I was wondering if you can kind of unfold that a little bit.
Around the idea of it being a microscope?
So, you know, you've essentially discovered a microscope, which is huge. But the idea of what are we looking at exactly, right? Is it a unit of space? Is it? I mean, he did throw this idea. He did throw this.
Yeah, and that's what I was in my reaction video to him, is that I kind of equated my use of the term code of reality to the term dark matter. We don't really know if it's even matter, right? We just know it exerts gravity, so we kind of like, okay, well, it's the closest thing to what we think it is. I thought it was obvious, truly. Like, I'm not trying to, present something else. Like, I thought it was obvious that, of course, like, who in their right mind would say, like, I know that this codes for like the ultimate, like, yeah, it's my assumption because it's the closest thing to, I think, what it's doing. Of course, it can be turned out to be something completely different. My working assumption is that it either codes for space-time itself and codes new realities as they arise, and or registers everything that happens, kind of like the Akashic records. That's my assumption. I don't know if you were here. Were you here yesterday for what Casey did with the magnet?
I wasn't.
So no. Here's a crazy thing. So I had one of these assumptions that I was talking about for a while, and I'm sure you heard me say this, which I noticed that the only thing that where the code behaves slightly different is around a magnet. And what I noticed is that this particular magnet, right? So, and I wasn't in the habit of talking about the specifics, but that now it became relevant. So I was projecting it on the north and south pole of this, right? And what I noticed is that when it hits these, it gets scrambled. The code looks scrambled, okay? So now we know that magnetism obviously influences light, but I actually don't know if this is enough magnetism to influence photons. I'm not sure about that. But the code looked scrambled. So now I said, well, still not that concrete, because maybe it's just, you see the surface is kind of has these lines on it. See?
Right.
So I was like, well, maybe it's these lines, right? So then I said to myself, well, maybe we need to test it with a magnet with a different surface and test it with a surface like this that is not a magnet, and then see which one is which. And then Laszlo, with the guy who I'm working with, who's the VR expert, who's just a whiz with in general. He also was a part of research programs. He's like really well versed is like how to kind of like think about these things in experimental terms. And he had like a super simple idea that actually I don't know how I didn't think of it. It was right there. He said, well, no, you just put a paper on it. It's just put a paper, because you can see a code on the paper, right? So if you see if through the paper it scrambles, that's it.
Yeah.
So I was like, holy shit. So then
you're changing that local space.
So then Casey tested this yesterday, and we haven't tested this deeply, but he did it live, and he's like, it scrambles on the paper. And I said, but does it? He's like, yep, nope. And I see the rest of the paper on the side, and it's not scrambled on the rest of the paper. I was like, so think about what this means.
That's cool.
It's not, bro, it's insane. Because now think about this. Totally. Even in terms of just, so I know I'm getting real information, because if I go behind an enormous screen that has to be thin enough, obviously, and you can't see me, and I'm putting a magnet somewhere that you can't see, and now if I'm projecting a laser on it, your regular eye, the way it perceives it, you will not see a difference in the way that the light hits the magnet. But if you are on the molecule and you see the code, and all of a sudden you see that somewhere it's being scrambled on the screen, you say, I see the magnet is there. Even though you can't see me or the magnet, you're giving me real information about a state of the world that you couldn't give me without the molecule.
Totally. Yeah, you're bridging worlds.
Now you're talking about real information. So you can potentially start thinking about how to use this actually for cryptology, like encoding information. Because you can have things like now if you're talking about machines, you're going to have to figure out exactly what we're seeing, how we're seeing, and then how do you make a camera or machine read that? Of course, that's still, but if this checks out.
Yeah, that was my theory about cryptology, is doing exactly that.
Oh yeah, Kirsten was telling me something about cryptology. I didn't quite understand how the application would be this, but this would be one way. Now you would still have to figure out exactly, again, what is it and how it's being seen. But forget about even that level. If you can reliably tell me where an invisible magnet is on a random surface just because you did these two things, now you're giving me real information. That's huge. That's literally paradigm shifting.
Yeah, that is huge. And one more thing I'll say is, you were talking about sound, and I I approach this space as a scientist, as like a pure materialist, ultra Western philosophy, which I've heard your in a podcast you said, like, the problem with the Western approach to this space is that we have this so what mentality, right? Like, how do we productize this, or how do we use it as a technology? And so when I approached this space, I started seeing these patterns, right? These like flower of life patterns, which I thought was annoying because I never understood the symbology in the culture. And then when I experienced the space, I thought, oh man, this is annoying. I see it now and I get it. And I hate that it's like, I was so blind to it. And I hate that, but I thought, okay, they're on to something. There's something going on here. But one of the themes that I saw as a scientist that I was able to pick out is this idea that the world is a superposition, and this is a quantum principle, right? The world is a superposition between various states, and in chemistry, right, molecules have specific vibrational modes, right? And I started kind of experiencing this, like, okay, there's some really interesting information in the frequency and a superposition of frequencies that's out there. And so although I agree with you in terms of sound being just a pressure wave that can't really transcend dimensions per se, at least there's no quantum field for sound, right? But there is, there is information in sound, right? A vibrational, an oscillation that's happening, right? And so
that was the end of that thought. I don't know if you heard, but the thought was that indirectly it might influence consciousness that is universal. So
right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I think that's very powerful too. Like, there's information that's transmitted. One of my favorite versions of that is if you take the measurements of the bending of space-time that was measured by LIGO, and then you take that frequency spectrum and you just shift it, you superimpose it into a pressure wave that we can hear. Mm-hmm. Then you can kind of, the LIGO scientists said, oh, this is what gravity sounds like, right? It's not really what gravity sounds like, but you can kind of transmit that information into a sound wave. And for me, when I heard that, I kind of thought, that does kind of feel like what gravity would sound like, even though it's probably totally a human.
It's a symbolic representation, right? But if it doesn't make sense to a conscious unit, that conscious unit would have its local perceptions that can signify between the local space, like sound. But some of it would be universal, like forms of knowledge that would be universal. Beauty might be one of them. And there's something, and this goes to the point that you said about the flower of life. I too, just like you, was like kind of like very eye rolly about it. Like, okay, yeah, it's a pretty shape, but what's the big deal, right? And then I think it's also one of these things where it indirectly, there's something in it, there's a beauty in it that indirectly influences the perceptual space in a universal way. So like, even beings from 2 million light years away would still recognize it as beautiful because there's something very universally beautiful about it. And in that sense, I do think it's kind of equivalent to, when you start becoming a little, again, because of the nature of how you're approaching this, I want to use less of that language, but I guess what you would call waking up, or like being more open to enjoy more facets of life that seem to be simpler, but they might be deeper. So, for example, when you start, when you meditate long enough, or when you do enough introspection, or really, honestly, I think if at this point, because of the amount of noise involved, even if you turn off your phone for 3 days, which is already a difficult thing, but I think that after that, it's almost like there's something about, let's say, human interaction that you simply couldn't see before, right? It's almost like the perception is, when we kind of run, the perception is like, yeah, we know, like it's important to spend time with your family, blah, blah, blah. I know. I'll see you on the weekend, right? That's the attitude, and it's really there that way. So when you come in the presence of these people, you almost just, it's almost like you pay not lip service, but present service. Like you just kind of, it's almost like you do it because you know it's supposed to be good for you. You don't know why, but you're like there, like, yeah, I just spent, but you're not truly there with them. Now, I'm not talking about you in particular, but it's a very common thing, right? And then all of a sudden, when you drop deeper into the space of experience, either by meditation or any other form that you can achieve, or obviously with psychedelics, all of a sudden the value of just being there with them dawns on you. And you're like, oh, I feel it. Okay. And I feel that that's the same thing that happens with the flower of life and all these things. You recognize beauty, more universal beauty, because you give yourself the time to drop into that space. And that, I claim, is not a parochial quality. That is a
right.
universal
And
quality.
someone told me, oh, you might have just been primed, by seeing it. And I was like, no way. Like I was like anti-primed. I thought it was annoying.
Anti-primed.
And now I'm like, oh, there's something here. There's something really profound here. And I was able to see it. But anyways, I just wanted to kind of share that. But yes, I'm super. I thought you handled the criticism really well, and I thought you distilled it very perfectly. Where you said it's just a disagreement in styles, and totally scientists would not like this style. But also, I feel like as a filmmaker, your medium is not to write a grant or a paper, but to make a film. And one of the things that you said was that the film is so much powerful too, because everyone can kind of resonate with, it's more powerful than text.
Yeah, seeing is believing, and also, and this is where I feel, and again, this is well, I'm not gonna plan to say things because I think it's much better to just have a natural flow of a conversation, and I believe in that more. But I have no problem with bringing it up and talking about it. But I do think that idea of papers before movies, that's where scientists overstep their boundary, which is like that's not for you to say. That this is a human understanding does not belong to scientists. Scientists are the creme de la creme of the measuring and the getting to the bottom of the actual function of the thing. Is they are the best in the world. They're the SEAL Team 6 of that in the world. But it does not mean that all understanding arises from that one modality, and especially not in that space. And it's a collaboration between that, for sure. Not first of all, that for sure is a major element, let's say. Human interest, because otherwise nobody would care, right? And money comes from human interest, first of all. And first of all, the more people care, the more people press against people with more funds to kind of push the funds in particular directions, so that can actually be beneficial. I do agree with him that if the usage of that medium is towards some kind of a, just like, you funnel people towards like a monetization for the sake of that, or you're trying to add them to like some kind of a power thing, like a cult, that's not a positive thing. I stand my ground on my conviction, and I can defend it according to why I think think that it's that concrete, and time will tell. Time will tell if it checks out or doesn't check out. I maintain that it will, but I don't feel that there's anything here that happened in any negative direction. If anything, it just opened the window for more people to come in and say, wait, what are you talking about? Okay. And in the end of the day, and this is, I guess, my point, and it almost feels like wrong, because this is something I would say to Andrew, but like in the end of the day, people are not idiots. Like it wouldn't get to this point where we're sitting in so many serious people interested in this if it would just be nothing. It's just, it wouldn't be, or it's very unlikely, because I could say whatever I want to say. I think it's just like putting too much faith in my power of conviction. It's like I don't think. Well, again, we don't have we don't have an empirical evidence for this, so I don't know. But it seems to me that in order for something to get to a certain scale of interest by serious people who don't have any time to waste, there's something there that they recognize that is happening, and they don't need a degree in neuroscience to know that it's not just another little flickering hallucination. That people, it's not like I just showed a bunch of college kids in a basement. Like, I've showed this to scientists, I've showed this to people who manage serious companies.
Well, and one problem with science is that you need to convince some government agency. Usually, it's the National Science Foundation, or nowadays it's like MAPS or some other group that you need to present your research in a way that they want to fund it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I feel like you've done is you've democratized that by making a film, building a community around it, and ultimately you can crowdsource that funding now. You don't need to convince a government agency to give you taxpayer money to fund to fund this research. So I do feel like it's a more democratized approach to this, which that's one thing that you said, is that this is something for everyone, not for scientists or Western scientists. And so I don't feel like it was spoiled at all. I feel like it was the opposite of that. I feel like there was a lot of momentum built. So
and again, and I really appreciate your support, and it means a lot, because you have understanding from academia, and you have understanding from tech, and you have understanding from the business perspective. And yeah, it does hold water when you say it, right? Because you understand how these things work. And I think, in the end of the day, can we always find a better path that is somehow involves the communication between the public and science more? Yes, but I think that's the thing that we're trying to kind of figure out. The idea that knowledge is lost because somebody talked about it, then it's not knowledge. It's like it has to be able to hold weight no matter what. It's otherwise it's not real knowledge, or we can't ever discern if it's a real knowledge either way. Because if it's just a matter of everybody's conviction, then what are we talking about? That should not lend itself to scientific investigation anyway.
Right. Yeah. Right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Danny. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, brother. How's the search going?
Yeah, the search for so I'm trying to raise money.
If anybody in the chat has $2 million, you can donate right now, and I'll transfer everything to Nico.
Yeah, I mean, raising money from VCs is interesting, because you need to convince tech people that want to make money that you have a technology that can make them a return on their investment. So it's not fun. Oftentimes you get into stuff for the science and exploration of it, but then you're trying to convince business people to fund it. And so, yeah, it's never easy to convince any other group. It's always better to crowdsource, I think, when possible. But it's like you have to have a compelling enough vision that people can get around. So, but yeah, it's difficult. The economy's been kind of hard, but it seems like we're kind of getting out of it in some ways. So it seems like the economy is starting to move. At least VCs are moving more money around. So it's a little bit more exciting. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what next year brings.
Amazing. Well, I'm wishing you all the luck. And tell you what, if in the off crazy chance that we have one of these like 80s movie moments where we're like, holy, whoa, like we can like figure out some real world application, you'll be one of the first people that I'll be chatting about that with. So maybe we can, because it needs to be in the right hands.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, thank you very much, Danny. Appreciate it. But yeah, I'll have a good night, and looking forward to the rest of the streams, and also the talk with you and Andrew coming up soon, right?
Yeah.
Did that happen yet? Or?
No, Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific time. I'll remind you personally.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, brother, for everything. All right. Also, I want to say again, Ben, I saw your comment from before. You said my goal is to give 5 memberships a week. It's much more effective than a super chat at growing the family. If there were only 1,000 members, this would be an unstoppable conversation with the budget. Bro, I don't know how to thank you. Well, first of all, we're going to start with a Zoom call, obviously. Thank you for that. That's incredible. And you heard it here, folks. So Ben is going to be gifting 5 a week, and we're not going to hold you to it. If you feel like you don't want to keep doing that, that's fine. But that's even the gesture of that. I think you've done it twice now, right? Thank you. That's incredible. And I'm sure that people thanked you in private, all the people that you gifted this to, but thank you so much. plants and animals and people, yes, it absolutely works. Okay. And I was bet you emailed me, right, Ben? Okay, let's see what we got here. Well, I can be more specific. Okay, hold on. So let me let me do this. Because where is it? Hold on. Okay. Give me one moment, everybody. Okay, one moment. Almost there. Hold on, I'm going to place the phone. I'm looking for the main reason as to why my opinion of her was so strong. Because in general, I have an issue with this kind of style, but I'll tell you specifically why, and then maybe you'll understand. So first of all, well, it will be a much larger conversation because it will involve going into details, and we can do that. But this obviously, I don't want to hijack this conversation for this. But the reason in general that Blavatsky I had such a strong reaction to her is because it's the same reason I have that reaction to Billy Carson. I don't know what your opinions of him, but that's not a positive player, period. Like, no matter what like spiritual language you might be using, he's utilizing people's ignorance to gain something and gives nothing in return, no real value, because he says nothing that actually is true, or they're very surface understanding of things. He sells things that don't work and takes money. And that is the exact same thing that both from the history, because I do remember getting a little bit into this, not into the specifics, but just the way that she was operating. This is why the conversation would have to be more about specifics. So, for example, the fact that she fabricated things. Also, she talked about channeling, which, no offense to anybody here, this is definitely gonna, as Terence McKenna used to say, set up the fox among the chicken. But I don't think anybody's doing that. So, but this is, again, we're gonna be getting here like to very, very small specifics, and I don't mind doing that. But there's a reason why the reaction was so strong. I do take your point that in general, just presenting obviously somebody's looks, but even just like surface reasons for why you have a strong reaction to them is not enough, especially in the context of somebody like me who, to some degree, feels the responsibility to also show an example of how to talk in a more positive way. And that's definitely not a positive thing to say. That is not to say that it's not okay to pass criticism on things that you feel that is important to pass criticism. To say nothing when you believe something is being done truly wrong in a way that can influence others' minds, I think is also important. but the deep dive into why that is might involve not just a deeper dive into the details, but also a deeper dive into myself and why I operate in the way that I do and why I say the things with the strident tone that I do sometimes. So the olive branch I can offer, Feda, is that you're right that it's not enough to say something very kind of like, generally about somebody and just kind of brush them off. I think my reaction to some extent was also in my impression with the way you were coming about it, which is that trying to bring, like I said, the container is the main thing, which it never is. And again, it's not a matter of opinion. It just never is. It's the substance that should matter. And maybe I had a little bit of a reaction to that too. But yeah, we all learn and we all grow. So there's always better ways to have the conversation. And yeah, we can correct course. So next time we can dive into more details. I maintain that my opinion about her is pretty well substantiated in terms of like what I understand. But I'm open to being revised. I'm open to learn more and to see if there's something that I misunderstand. In general, spiritual leaders, I would not place myself in the same category whatsoever. I do mention sometimes spiritual things, but what I do is mostly talk about my experience of things like meditation and things that I know that help people across the board. Beyond masters, more where I stand. I'm your master. I will never ever say this in my life. And it's something that she definitely said. I don't know if you would disagree with that, but she definitely said that and felt that. And I do not see people like that in a positive light. That, just to explain to you why the reaction is so strong. So, because I see you said here that she has the same goal as me. I don't think so. Understanding reality, you can go about it in many, many ways, but this is definitely not the way. To pretend you have some kind of a truth that you impart on people and you're the central locus of attention. That is a confused state, to my mind. Yeah, I think that the way you see my work you might not fully see it the way it really is, because I have no alignment with people like that whatsoever. And to your comment, Feda, you said, "No, I'm not a paid actor. I genuinely hoped I had found a community that recognizes the importance of broad knowledge in addressing the complexities of the universe, especially when it comes to something as vast as an intricate code of reality." You're right, but even within the community, we still can have disagreements, and hopefully, we can have them as respectfully as possible. And like I said, yeah, I take your point. Like that was not a fair way of doing it. And I can make a billion excuses, like, I'm getting tired, so my brain is less. I have less patience, all that stuff. But I'll just own it. That was not a good. That was not a positive thing to. It was not a good way to have a conversation. I fully take that correction. But by the way, one of the things that I love is also the disagreements, if we can take them and actually listen to each other and kind of learn through them. And that goes both ways, of course. I'm not just saying, like, I'm saying that I'm sure that you absolutely have some things to say to me that might be valuable. Okay, so I have to kind of skip a lot because, yeah, Ben, please email me. Just send me, shoot me a quick link, quick email with, if you don't mind titling it so I know, because this is super generous and I appreciate that, just title the email Super Donor. Okay, Super Donor, all caps. It's okay if you yell in the title. Just do that, and because I feel like there needs to be a reciprocation of some sort. So thank you, Francis, saying if I had economical power, I would invest in this project. Thank you. But even your presence here truly is actually great. One of channel membership, the winner. Thank you. You got it, Mustafa. first cause, and then read the future. See drones. And more contribution. Ben, you're such a blessing. Thank you. I thought it was Blavatsky. Okay. So I really hope, because Billy Carson clearly has no understanding of what he's talking about, or perhaps is being paid to say such things. So at least we're aligned there. And again, let's revisit this when I'm more rested and not this thorny. I would fully admit that right now I'm a lot less patient. But yeah, so took your correction, appreciate it, and I hope you still feel that this is your community, because these deep topics, they're definitely the bread and butter of the way that I see us as a community. So I appreciate you bringing this into the conversation. All right. Well, all right, guys, I'm going to have to adjourn because it's getting kind of late and I do have to get some sleep. I really appreciate everybody and these wonderful conversations. Thank you always for being here. Kirsten, thank you so much for coming and sharing your wisdom. Nico, I don't know if you're here, but thank you so much for coming on, brother. Thank you, Ben, for all the contributions. Thank you for all the members that joined today. I had also had a great members live today, right before this. If you want to follow me across all platforms, it's Danny Goller on TikTok and Instagram, Goller Danny on X. Check out my conversation with Gallimore the upcoming Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. You're going to find it on X. And there's the announcement there. Laser X83 on Twitch, and Dango Thoughts on YouTube. DANGO Thoughts, where you can also join the members program, which will allow you Zoom calls with me, weekly lives for members only, aside from the daily lives, as well as early access to all the episodes, like the Chase Hughes reaction to the laser, which was actually kind of awesome, and it's already available for members, and personal stuff from my life that people ask me to do, and I'm gladly doing them here and there. That's it. And I'm adding things all the time, constantly thinking how to refine it to make it better. Again, Ben, thank you so much for being so generous. It's deeply appreciated. And I appreciate all of you guys for being a part of this community, growing community, and everything that is becoming. And hopefully we can maybe set some example of how these conversations are had. Thank you, guys. Peace and love. Good night. Ciao. Good night, everybody.